Okay, so today I'll be taking Stu Dare, MMA fighter, through a strength and conditioning session. We're 5 weeks out, just over 5 weeks out from his fight, so not so much focusing on accumulating fatigue or any of that sort of stuff. It's probably a little bit different to what you'd expect. Previous phase of training was more of that, more aerobic conditioning and more strength endurance. So we're doing all the traditional movements, front squats, push presses, cleans, all that sort of stuff. Today is more about power development, so we'll be using the tornado ball, the medicine ball, and also the plyometric method as well. So watch in. Hope you learn something here for your own training, and a bit of an insight here into how a professional athlete should train and does train. All right, so first up in our session, going for a bit of a stretch of the chest. Good one here. We take the hands into pronation, take the hands back, and just lengthening out all those muscles through the front of the shoulder that get really tight on fighters. They spend a lot of their time throwing punches or with the hands in front of the face. The musculature along the front of the shoulder then gets really, really short and pulls them into a bad posture. Stu does get a lot of stuff going on with his neck and shoulders as a result, so we want to do our due diligence in getting that right first. Okay, next up we've got a lat stretch here, also a good thoracic mobilizer. So getting that gable grip on the hands first up, setting the shoulder blades back, and then what Stu's going to do is try and work his chest down to the ground on this one. So when we talk about that tight musculature through the shoulders, also just as important to stretch out the lats, because they will pull the shoulder into a internal rotation in a bad position, so we want to get after this one as well. Okay, next up we're going with a neck stretch. So we've turned the hand out, turn it out all the way, and then dragging the ear over the opposite shoulder there. So we're stretching out all the musculature, this time through the side of the neck. So all through here gets really quite tight as the shoulder gets pulled into a bad position, so we want to release that. Lengthening all this stuff out before we train just gets us starting from a much better position, and it stops us further accentuating those maladaptive processes that come with hard training. Yeah. All right, so sometimes we need to stretch, sometimes we need to foam roll, sometimes we need to do a mobilizer. Other times it's soft tissue work which is going to be required. If we're getting the adhesions, as we often do, through the rotator cuff here, we're going to have to work them out manually and be a little bit more aggressive with them. So we're going to go after infraspinatus here first up. So we're digging into these bristly points here, and as we do that, I'm going to get Stu to take his arm all the way out, finish thumb down at the top of the movement. So this is about breaking down those adhesions, letting a bit of blood flow back in, freeing up that shoulder to work a little bit better. So you can cut that one. All right, so final soft tissue technique I'm going after today. I've just gone after the infraspinatus. Final one here is supraspinatus, which sits in under the acromion. My secret tool here, a pen using that flat point there, and I get in under into the muscle, and as I feel around through under the acromion here on the supraspinatus, there's quite a few little bubbly, gristly points. Now it's really important we do some work on the supra, because this is a muscle that when shoulder mechanics aren't good, it does or it is susceptible to impingement syndrome. So that's where where you're lifting your hand above the head and you're getting that pinching through the shoulder, and this is something that Stu gets as we get deep into the camp. His structural balance through the shoulder is not the best, so getting in there and working that out just helps that shoulder glide and move a little bit better. It's quite uncomfortable, but it's all for a good cause. All right, so our next stretch here, this is an active stretch for the psoas and hip flexor region. We go overhead with the plate, take about 20 seconds to eccentrically lower, and once that back knee hits the ground, we draw those lower abs in, and we hold the stretch at the bottom. So freeing up those lower limb mechanics now by releasing the all troublesome psoas group or hip flexor group. Lucky with a bit of coaching too.
Rotations now, preparing the spine, getting the body ready for the rotary work.
A little bit of a jog just to get the oil pump going. All right, so next up we're moving into some tornado ball and medicine ball work. So this is dynamic training, and it's all about each training phase building on the previous. In the previous training phase, we were working strength endurance. Now we want to be moving more towards match velocity or match speed, so much quicker contraction speed. Now, historically, the medicine ball and the plyometric method have been the most popular tools for this. We have a slight adaptation of this method by using a medicine ball that's essentially on a rope, and it just helps get you that velocity up and make it a little bit more cyclical and rhythmic in nature. So a lot of transfer to MMA and other power sports. Right, setting up for the other side of the body now.
We're not going the same way. We tried to go
Opposite way to last time. Just think of that. All right, here we go. So winding up here, really good for the core musculature and integrating the whole body through that twist pattern. All right, so moving into a different movement now. We're combining that rotation, that push work with the squat. Still dynamic, still powerful, adding a little bit of skill, winding up, and then slamming that thing down with speed. Okay, so next up we're working into some more power work. So rate of force development is still important here, but we're developing a little bit of an endurance effect here too. So we're doing repeat efforts. Every minute we're doing 2 plyometric push-ups. Now we have added weight in the weight vest from last week. It's all about speed here. So we're dropping down, up quick, hitting the ground, going again. Good. From there, Stu's going to add a little bit of weight, 20 kilos. You can do 1 rep here, up fast, back down slow. So after the dynamic and ballistic work that we've just done with the medicine ball, we're now moving into our repeat set. So 20 sets of 2 push-ups, 1 pull-up on the minute. And this is actually a much better way to develop power. So and strength endurance for that matter. So the ability to repeatedly apply strength is not about repping out on any one activity, but it's about doing repeat sets with the sub-maximal rest. So doing sets on the minute where we're doing only 2 or 1 reps and doing repeat sets of that and adding weight each week will help us to increase the amount of times we can apply force during competition events. Now, we back that with good development of the aerobic system, and we then have an athlete who can hit hard, hit often, and keep doing it at a pace that will be far better than their opponents. Going again, back up on the beam. So going with a cannonball grip now, developing the grips, up fast, down slow.